Alrighty. Let me check the audio. Test. All right, you are one of the, I think you're the third reading with my new awesome high-tech microphone. Oh shit. Sound quality is said so much better. And they look really cool too. There's two of them. That's why I said they. All right, plug this in. Get this over here. All right. Make sure that stays like that. Okay, cool. All right. Let me go ahead and change this. Mm. All right. So, what do we have here? We have a very unaspected chart, which is rare. Or not heavily aspected. At least the sun and the moon. So, yeah, you were born on a full moon, like literally a few hours before a full moon in Libra. Um, so obviously your sun is in Aries. And full moon babies, a lot of times their parents are divorced. A lot of times like on a psychological level, if you were to like write down the main lessons or messages or whatever from parent A and then from parent B, there wouldn't be much overlap. There'd be a lot different, right? Um, and even if that's not the case, just on a psychological level, you have two very different parts, and you have this axis of Aries Libra that is extremely important, right? For you to figure out. So, um, being opposite signs, right? Aries and Libra, is your moon sign Libra, the moon being, what you need. It's your feminine archetype, yin yang. It's the yin, the yang is your sun. They work together and they either clash or they work well together or medium. So opposite signs of the same energy, but the opposite manifestation. You pull up your message. It's right here. Okay. So sorry about what's happening with you right now. This has been a trend. I swear I've had so many clients lately who've been going through the same thing with custody. Yeah, literally like someone like my last live client was the exact same thing. And there's one other one not too long before that. Okay. So, um, let me see something. Okay. Yeah. So Aries, right? Obviously, I don't really need to go into your sun sign, but we understand it's the fire, Mars rule fire. It's the first sign. It's very, very go-getter, pioneer, all that good stuff, right? Assertive, action-oriented, very masculine in the sense of, it goes after what it wants. It's not shy. Um, the Libra though, Libra moon, um, while Aries is very decisive. And I always say that when you have like, especially a sun and the moon, and the sun and moon in like these types of positions, um, or just like two important points, it's always pointing to hold on, take a photo. It's always pointing to um, the need to balance out that axis. So, you know, like when someone has like a lot of Aries, I'll tell them lean into that Libra, right? Lean into that Libra. And when someone has a lot of Libra, I'll tell them to lean into that Aries, right? So when you have both as your sun and your moon, it's really about understanding, okay, how can I get the high energy of Libra and how can I get the high energy of Aries? And then understanding what the low manifestations are as well. So, Libra obviously can be very indecisive, and Aries is very decisive, right? Aries can be a little bit abrasive, a little bit over the top at times, while Libra can struggle to, it can fall into people pleasing and putting others above it, all that stuff, right? So there's a lot of relationship, there's a big aspect of this that's about relationships, right? And about finding the right balance between the extreme of codependence and the extreme of I don't give a fuck, it's all about me, it's all that matters, right? Aries. Um, so, you know, I think that whenever I see people who have that, right, who have that, like, at least those energies, right? I think, okay, well, they they're here, they're definitely gonna have a level of karmic relationships. Um, and on some level, it sorry. I need to turn my phone on being disturbed. Okay. Yeah, so on some level, um, karmically there's been an imbalance, right? Now, I think the idea of compromise is very important, and um, and it can be very, very, like in one area of life, for example, fourth house sun, it could be the case, for example, that in your home life, you're very, very Aries, even like when it relates to spiritual, to your own relationship with yourself and your emotions and your spirituality, you might have like kind of like a head first kind of just go getter energy with that. Um, but and then perhaps in the career and the Dharma, you do have Pluto there, so that is very, very important as well. But in this would be ninth house and Placis. I might flip this to Placis in a little bit. Which would be 3-9. You know, in that scenario, well, either way, like yeah, it could be where perhaps in the external life, mission, dharma, all that, more of that Libra diplomatic energy comes out, right? But yeah, that's the thing. That's why like with these opposite energies, you don't want to give too much Aries, you don't want to give too much Libra, right? You want to figure out. So like low Libra, we get it. It's indecisive. It relies too much on other people. It can't make decisions for itself. It puts people above itself because it wants everything to be so balanced. Um, High Libra is very, very good at seeing other perspectives. It's the judge, it's the person in the middle that can bring people together. It's a very Venusian, calm, energy that's very good with beauty and manifestation, and it's popular in the sense that it's good with people. It understands, you know, what drives people at their core. And I don't necessarily mean that on like a fake level of like manipulation marketing. I mean that like they, they understand what it's like from someone else's shoes. Um, Low Aries obviously is just like the bully. It's the person that just is super impulsive and um just does and just way too fiery. Um, doesn't realize that like sometimes they can be take and not give. But then Libra would be the opposite, right? They can just give and not take. So I think that's one balance, right? Um, so yeah, in relationships, of course, you want to have relationships where you are giving something, right? Where it's like air, like the extreme of Aries is like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just doing me. That's it. That's all that matters, right? Um, I'm not willing to compromise at all. The extreme of Libra is um, I will compromise too much. I will give myself up to ensure that my partner is happy or that things are balanced. So finding that balance is important. Um, Now, housewise, 410, obviously that is speaking about the masculine feminine balance, the home life, um, home life, kind of inner life, career life, external life, right? And balancing those two. Um, and then if we flip it to Placidus, we're gonna be seeing a 3-9. So that's gonna be a lot more about information and knowledge and wisdom and kind of a gung-ho attitude in that respect. Regardless of what whole sign of Placidus we use, there's still energies in those houses regardless, right? That's the beauty of the two systems. So I would say that overall your North Node and Mars are conjunct in Leo, um, in the eighth house with Jupiter close by as well in Virgo. And let's see, ascendants in Capricorn, Mercury's in Pisces. Venus is the one planet that's very aspected. Three, well, yeah, and Mars has one well, two. But yeah, for the most part, there's not so many aspects. You have Venus square nodes. Interesting. And Uranus square nodes. Um, so let's see how this all connects. South Node in Aquarius, so it's the opposite of mine, if you were wondering. Um, so North Node Leo people, I get a lot of them because obviously I'm like a South Node Leo, North Node in Aquarius, and it's almost like it can be very difficult for them to. It can be very difficult for people with these placements to accept praise and to accept like center stage per se, right? To accept um greatness. Not even greatness, just like to like they have so many past lives where they're giving, 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 and um it doesn't always come easy to them to take. And that goes back to what I was saying, right? With with the Aries Libra, right? Where it's just like it's not necessarily it really is that it's always the balance, it's always the balance. And yeah, I just think that when we put all this together, with Mars on your north node, to me, that signifies, with the squares to Venus and Uranus, that, and you have Uranus opposite Venus, that in past, in recent past lives, and I don't like to say like, last life or this life or whatever, like Um, I don't know what past life we're dealing with here, right? But what we can say is that there is a karmic tendency, or it just so happened that way, where you were so altruistic and so giving that it kept you away from your ability to find your authentic self, which is something I talk about in so many of my readings. It's such a massive thing. We live in a society where we're pushed to kind of be like a carbon copy of, whatever the world wants us to be. And, that's been pushed over. So that's a big thing for you in this lifetime as an Aries, right? And a North Node in Leo. It's to find your authentic true colors, like inner child, that type of energy, right? And then with the square to Venus, that I go in that for a long time, but there's a lot of karmic love, self-love that's been skipped over. And then it's also karmic love. So you have a lot of really, really karmic relationships that will come in at the specific times, and they will all have, you know, big, big, big and little kind of lessons to them, right? But overall, it is related to self-love, right? But you have a very strong Venus. You have a very strong Venus. So that is interesting. It's in Taurus. So, in dignity. So I think that on its own is interesting. Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. So let's see here. Um, yeah, so the vibe I get is that you're such a giver, and in this life it's like a big thing for you to accept gifts, accept good karma being brought back to you, right? Um, Neptune trine the nodes as well. That's nice. Like I said, Jupiter conjunct the North Node with Mars. You have a lot of firepower pushing you forward towards your destiny. North Node is the mountain never climbed in past lives. So you have a lot of that energy. I'm gonna go off camera for a little bit. Yeah, so you have a lot of that energy pushing you forward. And what I like about Mars with the North Node is that it's like a challenge for you to be assertive and to stick to your own personal goals in this lifetime. And to really lean into self-confidence and independence, right? So a lot of people, like with these types of charts, like they'll be pushed into leadership positions in different ways in life, and it can feel a little bit uncomfortable, but really, that's where the greatest growth is. That's like the doorway to higher awareness. And with Jupiter, with North Node, that's about as good as it gets, because when you're headed that direction, um, you know, you're given a lot of the right people, the right situations, the right circumstances. It's like one of the best like karmic astrology placements you can have, Jupiter with the North Node. But also one part of it is embracing challenge and adventure and expansion, right? Um, and you know, you're here to really see the big picture. You're here to inspire other people and also to be inspired, right? So your life, a big part of your destiny could be, you know, being parts of different groups and just like getting, traveling, right? That could be something where you see different cultures and you ultimately gain like a massive you know, like your idea of truth is very, very, it's monumental, right? And then you're able to teach that to other people in whatever way that shows up. Um, so that's beautiful. But I think like with what you said to me in the message, like obviously, and I would recommend booking a current astrology reading. I believe you have the follow up. I didn't look. I think you have the follow up. That's in 1 hour where we talk all about the natal. The natal never changes. You won't have this recording the rest of your life will never change. But then with current astrology, as you may know, it's always changing, right? So instead of a 1 hour reading, it would become a 3 hour reading, and I would be willing to do it for 260 instead of like 380, or I forget how much it is on sale, 380. So I'll actually write that down. That I offered it, or I'll forget. It's like very low for me. Um, hold on, yeah. Also, look at my turnaround time. Holy shit, less than a month. Damn, damn. Used to be 5 months. Um, so yeah, so that's big, right? Um, and I could see why the Libra moon would make that difficult, right? Because you're being asked, it's uncomfortable. I've talked to so many North Node in Leo people where they're just like, it just does not feel right to step in, to step into to these positions, right? Um, it's something, it just, yeah, it feels odd. It doesn't feel, and that's the whole thing with the nodal journey, is that it's not meant to feel comfortable, right? But you know, you're also like, a big part of it is like courage, right? Courage and self-confidence, enthusiasm, right? So a lot of people with this, they're very good at working with other people. And the Libra moon would definitely, make one great at networking and kind of connecting with like-minded people, popular, all that. But sometimes there's too much. What I've noticed is there's too much attention paid to what others think of them, right? They can kind of get lost in that. So, anxiety, worry, all these things can creep in, right? And it can make, peer pressure be a thing. So, North Node and Leo, it's all about self-expression. That's at the core of your individual, that helps you understand your own suppressed individuality more, right? Because of the Uranus square, that means that has been suppressed, whether it's by you or the society that you grew up in. Um, so, you know, um, what can also happen with that too is, I mean, it feels uncomfortable. I always give the metaphor. It's like jumping off a cliff into water the first time. The first time is very difficult, but then it's easier after, right? Or skydiving. I've never done it, but I imagine it's a lot easier the second time. So, um, some people with this, like, they can experience betrayal from friends. And that kind of forces them to find that inner strength within themselves to rely on themselves, because there can be like a tendency to like rely too much on the group, right? Of the friends and whatnot, karmically. Um, and I would say, like, there's probably like in this life, role models and teachers might be like a big theme. And I can imagine that lacking in past lives. So you're here to find to really like I said, it's about you existing as an individual, right? Aquarius is the group. It's a collective, right? So Leo is the self, right? So it's not saying that you're supposed to just like not have friends. It's saying that you're supposed to like within your friend group, in your friend your any group, anything you're part of, still, you know, be your individual authentic self, right? So sometimes you need to be a little bit more, like sometimes you need to take time away in that, right? Um, to find yourself, right? So, yeah, I would say any Aquarius South Node, freedom, independence is obviously very important. And like one other thing, which I haven't seen so much in my practice, but it's like, um, like sometimes Aquarius can be a little bit cold, aloof, and Leo is very warm, right? So it's like kind of replacing that energy for like the Leo energy. And um, yeah, just stepping into that Leo part of the lion, right? Courage, all that. Um, Another thing is that, Aquarius is can be very logical, while Leo is very emotional. So, yeah, paying attention to your feelings, respecting them, um, just following your heart rather than listening to the intellect is really important, and taking risks, right? That's a big thing, a big difficulty I see with this place, with this null axis. Um, and the biggest struggle, as I was saying before, is just the struggle to find out who they really are, right? And full self-acceptance. There's gonna be a lot of shyness. Um, so yeah, it's just like that. You're doing well in this no act journey when you can really express yourself freely, and you're not worrying about what other people think. And not always needing, and that's a Libra thing too, like other people's opinions, like yeah. So yeah, as you grow into your North Node, you become very charismatic. Um, it can be someone who likes being the center of attention or feels more comfortable if their life has kind of thrown them into that realm, into that way of existing. But yeah, what's interesting too, what I've seen is that people tend to start to like people with this placement more once they actually start to really express their individuality and their authenticity, and the things that they may have been so shy to say, they start saying them, and people are like, oh, they love it, right? They can be great leaders, super creative. Um, so yeah, um, it's very generous energy, Leo, right? So giving back obviously is something that goes for both of those signs. Um, but yeah, just like I would say, um, you know, um, mm, I think like North Node Leo too, it's like about bringing joy to other people and pumping other people up, right? Um, but like what I've seen so much with them is like they can have so many talents, but it's just so hard. It's that first step, that first action, to move into that fire. And obviously with your chart, you have Mars. So your Mars, the planet of action, is right on your North Node. So that's helping you so much. It's like the best help with Jupiter there too, your guardian angel. So when you really, really do take everything I'm talking about, this journey forward, and it's in the eighth house too, which is very, very interesting, right? Because that's the house of the esoteric, of the occult, of beneath the surface of deep psychology, right? Um, so um, yeah, through birth transformation. So people with the eighth house North Node, they're here to really let go of parts of themselves that are no longer serving them. Um, So what else can I say? I guess like with any Leo energy like placement or even of any sort, just like the negative is just like being egotistical, self-centered, right? Arrogant, all that stuff. Um, vain, yeah, stuff like that. But I think like having a creative pursuit, whether it's something you show other people or not, is an amazing thing. Um, because that's how you really get to know your own individuality, whether it's like any form of art, writing, even just communicating freely, when you can just communicate and you're not like censoring yourself, you're going and finding people that you can do that with, right? So if your career doesn't fall, and like, Leo's all about joy, right? So it's like the best would be a career that falls into that category of something that really gives you joy. But if not, just embracing the need to have fun, hobbies, things you do that really bring you that, right? And with your moon in the 10th house, well, ninth house in Placidus, but regardless, I think that um, on some level there is like, this need to have this emotional attachment to what you're doing and what you're learning, especially. Um, so then, yeah, the fact that it's in the eighth house is about just power, but power in the sense of like real personal power, finding that power within yourself. And I would say also being able to let go, right? Being able to let go of people, places, things, situations, tendencies that are no longer serving you. Is very common. It can be very difficult. Um, and yeah, just like letting go of ingrained attitudes from past lives. Um, and really, really placing, the emphasis on spiritual values. And eighth house, like I said, it's the house of the esoteric, it's the house of the occult, the house of death, rebirth, transformation, of secrets, of inheritances, of so many more things, right? Very deep house, Scorpio house. So it's kind of asking you to be like a witch in a way. And don't take that too literally, but like take that for however you want to take it, right? So eighth house, what can be difficult from second to eighth is that eighth house will bring up karmic situations where it's like you have to change or like you have to let something go or someone go, but it's hard, right? Um, so yeah, and I would say that um, yeah, the Venus square, like I said, it's gonna bring. Well, okay, we'll go there in a sec, but mm, yeah, I think yeah. So with I think that what's interesting is that the Uranus is in the 11th, but 10th in Placidus. Midheaven is in Scorpio. So you on some level you're really really like you want a dharma career, whatever you want to call it, that's really gonna get you down to like the really really down to truth, right? Um and mm, yeah, so the fact that Uranus is there would speak to like a more unconventional career, right? Something that is really true to you. Um, and maybe, yeah, and perhaps to others is yeah, it doesn't make sense to others, perhaps, right? And you do have a T square of Uranus, Venus, Mars, and it shoots out in Aqua, right by the South Node. So don't worry about what that means. But basically, like I relate that a lot to love. Um, well, there's many things, right? I think freedom is paramount for you. So I think like like you probably really like to do something that you can become obsessed with, like with work and stuff. As a Capricorn rising, obviously you have this, Saturnian this ability to really get the job done. I'm sure you know about your rising sign, like you can really get the job done. It's close to a very strong fixed star Vega as well. Um, and you just put out the air of responsibility, right? You just come off as responsible, and you know, perhaps like I think honestly, like Cap risings, like I'm not gonna lie, um, and I have no idea what you look like, by the way, zero idea, like literally zero. I purposely don't look at any photos. Um, I've seen a lot of models that have Capricorn risings, and I always think that they're Scorpio risings, but then it's because they're midheaven, which is what you see on social media, is Scorpio. Interesting, huh? Um, but yeah, it can kind of give like this like mysterious, kind of cold look, but not cold in the bad way. Like not cold in like I don't trust you way, like cold, like just kind of Capricorn, fuck you. So, yeah, as I was saying, like, yeah, the career would be something a little bit more, maybe it takes, different trial and errors for you to figure out what exactly it is, but you want to, give a very unique, uh, you want to, you want to give a very unique contribution to society. Um, so, hmm. And even more so, like, Pluto where it is. I'm gonna switch to plastics in a sec. I feel like doing that, but it's also just like someone who wants to really, it's very good for like someone who can be like a very powerful leader. Once again, right? This is coming up again in whatever they choose, and someone who can really face a lot of fears when it comes to putting themselves out there, which is like very close to your nodal theme as well. So yeah, it's interesting. Um, and yeah, as an Aries, right? Like that's the leader, that's the archetype of the leader. So it makes sense. Um, so you have all of the elements in your personal plans. Bravo. Um, I like that you have your Mercury in Pisces because I have that too, and that's not why I like it though. But you have your Palace there too, so you have a very intuitive mind, which balances out really well with all of the fact of your Earth, fire, and air. So I think that Mercury Pisces is debilitated, meaning that it's not known to be good in that sign. However, and let me just check one thing. Yeah. However, I do like I just like I like how it works when it's like the only planet in water. I find it very interesting. I find that it gives someone the ability to speak in a very empathetic way, and it can even be psychic, right? It can even, especially in the third house. Third house Mercury is actually a very intelligent. It's a placement that's very good for intelligence. It's where you want your Mercury. So you have like this ability to be very left brain and right brained, right? To have both the abstract and the logical, which is very nice. Um, so like if you're a leader in any way, right? You are, and if you're not a leader, don't worry about it, right? Like this could be like it's not like just corporate America or something like that. And like honestly, it can just be something more in your personal life. Like it's very interesting astrology, right? You kind of have to like watch the reading over many years, and it makes more and more sense. Um, but yeah, I would say that the thing with Mercury and Pisces is that we can be so good at like the very high abstract, but then when it comes to like the very low, like putting together an IKEA, and you do have the Earth, so maybe not so much for you, but like yeah, like putting together like the IKEA couch can be like impossible. Or like the basics of language. But you have an unaspected Mercury too, so that means sometimes people with unaspected Mercuries, can just kind of go with their communication, um, not really being held back in any way. Um, well, mm, I don't know. There's different ways of taking it. Some like I've seen people who just like kind of let whatever go, but it's other people who just like prefer to observe, right? Um, and yeah, so it does really depend on a lot of the other stuff, a lot of the other stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I have seen this, like overall, like very intelligent, learning things very quickly, um, very good at focusing typically, but they can sometimes be too future oriented or like anxious because of that. Like it can give like a restless mind, I would say. That's difficult to control. Um, and it can be, yeah, they can find it difficult to find that stability. So, yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, so if you look around, you'll see different takes of it. Like that's one take. One take is like the overactive, hyperactive mind, right? Nonstop talking, thinking or worrying. So it's pretty much just like if you think of checks and balances in government, it's like Mercury, your mind, your communication doesn't have that because it's in Pisces. That's a more, Mercury Pisces isn't known to be like the blah 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 blah, right? So it could just to me, it's more like the mind can just run amok, right? So I think what's important here is to be able to lean into some of these other energies for grounding, right? The Capricorn rising, Venus in Taurus, and so forth. So let's backtrack a little bit. So your IC has Chiron on it. Um, mm, Let me just kind of go through this, like, and then I want to switch to the classes. Let me just kind of like say some things. Um, we'll probably go back, but yeah. So basically, like planets on the IC. So if you're living close to Visalia, California, I probably wouldn't. Not like it's the end of the world, but that means if you ever want to get this reading from me too, it's called astrocartography, and it's basically I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a reading I do for couples and individuals. It's a live reading too, and it's essentially here. I can show you like a quick glimpse, and we just go through the entire world, and like it's not even like it's just good. It's just something I think everyone should know about because let me tell you, I am in the worst. Like yeah. So you see how like all these lines represent planets, and we have energetic hotspots and cold spots all over the world, right? Um, so what's a random good spot for you? Charleston, West Virginia, Atlanta. No, Atlanta's not good. Uh, huh, I guess close to Denver's not bad. But yeah, um, obviously it's far more complex. Well, it's not that complex, I guess. But this line is really good. Tallahassee. There you go. There you go. And everything on this side. But yeah, basically like you have this for the whole world and you kind of just get to, it's just fun, you know, like if you're someone who's interested in traveling, who travels, it's just cool to know. Like, for example, for me, like Thailand is like one of the dopest places for me. And Miami in America, which I've never been to, is just like incredible as well. And then like, you know, where I live is quite good. And interestingly, where I live right now, like my mom's is horrible. And um yeah, like I have a horrible line. It sucks because I want to like be able to stay here and be chill, but you know, Pluto IC is just so tough and it doesn't hit like right away, but after like a week or two, I just wish it was fake. I wish I mean I don't because it's what I do, but like I wish it just didn't exist for this area, right? But it does, and I always feel it. So it sucks. So yeah, let me know if you ever want to do that. But the whole point, why did I bring that up? Oh yeah, the reason I brought that up is because you have basically like a very bad line, Chiron IC, close to Visalia, California. So if you're there now, um, you know, you might benefit from not being there. But it's not like so horrible. And you know, it's something that's in your natal chart anyway, so it's something that you're dealing with regardless, right? That's kind of how I see my Pluto IC is that like it's cool to get away from it, but you know, I'm dealing with this shit anyways. So when I come back to where I'm born in San Francisco, it's like, all right, just more intense. But yeah. So anyways, yeah, Chiron on the IC, people tend to have had childhoods that there was a level of pain. Um, and that pain elevates them to be able to be wounded healers, right? Like every fucking healer is wounded. Um, sorry for saying but I know you love this quality, this sound quality. So good. So good. I need to actually listen to some of my I just started recording my first readings ever tonight with this new microphone. So this is the best besides like the rare times I used my way less good big ass microphone. Still good, but way less good. Um, this is the best audio quality I've ever had. So um yeah. Anyways, so so yeah, like plants like that. Sometimes I feel like people with that um you know outer plants in general. I haven't really seen this. I haven't really tested this, so you can tell me in the follow up slash hopefully current astrology slash maybe even astrocartography day and bundle them all together. If you're interested, I'll give you a great deal, great deal. Um, but what I've noticed is that I've noticed that a lot of people with those have like faint memories of their childhood. Like sometimes they just like don't remember that much, or they over idealize it or under idealize it, or I don't know. That's more Neptune, but like just outer planets in general, I've noticed that with people. Um, so hold on. Sorry. All right. So yeah, you have Venus, but then so yeah. So I think like you know that being in Taurus, a lot of times that indicates for someone like issues with self-esteem or with feeling good in their own body, and it can stem from you know, and I don't see like that many hard aspects here. Um, so I don't want to like be like your parents were bad to you because I don't see that much saying that to be honest. And it's choked. However, let me actually look for some quick hoaxes potentially. No. I have found one. So yeah, moon quincunx. What's the orb they'd use for that? Look into that. Real fucking A. Maybe I could find something. It'd probably be at least like 5 degrees. The orb or they use different astrologers. Yeah, so it's just speaking. It could be looked at as a mother wound, but it is a quincunx, um, which is 150 degrees. But it's 3 degrees away, so it is. Um, yeah, it definitely counts. So I'm actually going to read something, which I rarely do. So this may signal that one's sense of self has been overpowered or diminished by one's wounds or sensitivities. In some cases, the individual may intuit that she simply cannot show her emotional vulnerability to the outside world, and that she may suppress any ugly aspect of her raw sentiments in order to actually feel secure in the circle of her nearest and dearest. In other cases, the individual may have felt abandoned by the mother or primary caregiver as a result of a limitation or disability in that figure or the individual herself. Alternate, the mother of prominent female figures in the life of the individual may have found it impossible to be genuinely themselves without invoking embarrassment. The vulnerability in this case has not been denied or projected, as is the case with the entire opposition, but simply dismissed. Let me read that. The vulnerability in this case may not have been denied or projected, but simply dismissed. The mother may. So yeah, it's kind of saying like yeah, like potentially the mother or like a primary caregiver wasn't able to like really be themselves. That's interesting. The mother may have been quite uncomfortable revealing certain vulnerabilities. Therefore, she may have simply dismissed those aspects in herself or her ancestral line, which is interesting because I'm not saying it's not true. I only go with like what I've learned like through my own, you know, trial and error. Um, and the mother and father stuff has always been hit or miss for me for some reason. The moon is the mom, the sun's the dad. But yeah, either way, I guess what we're reading here is a wound that's been passed on, right? So in either case, individual with this configuration or natal chart has to bring forth a sense of pathos for the mother or female figures in her life, and above all, for all that is ugly or awkward in herself. We all have sentiments. So it's speaking right to like the need to kind of let it out, right? To be real. And interestingly, the moon is in Libra, right? Which is a sign that, if you think of your moon sign is your mom and says something about your mom and son, dad, I mean, like Libra isn't, can be like we've said, right? Sometimes it doesn't show its true colors, shines away from that. Um, we all have sentiments which are not sanctioned by our society, family, or our own conscience. Dark and dirty impulses coming from somewhere deep in our unconscious, making us blush when no one is looking. Moon Chiron contacts, especially with the quincunx aspect, invite a sense of pathos towards these sentiments. So, pathos, that's the one about emotions, right? is an element, an experience, or an artistic representation evoking pity or compassion. Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So yeah, okay, I'm loving this reading. I'm having fun in the sun. In the sun. Um, but yeah, so take that with a grin. I mean, that take that for how you want to take it. But of course, you have to remember the Chiron is on the IC, so that speaks to the childhood, right? So this one is actually, definitely important. Um, but like for any kind of healer, and when I say healer, I don't mean someone who is, just doing astrology or human design or Reiki. Like you can work any job or not work at all and be a healer, right? It's an art, it's something within all of us, right? Um, which is interesting, right? Because like on one level, I feel like we are told that sorry, I want to record myself. I'm gonna restart what I said. So yeah, that's the thing with Chiron, right? It's like it's not necessarily that like you as a healer, right? Like where you have to be an astrologer, a Reiki, blah 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 blah. All these different, whatever. You can Chiron is just an archetype, right? So whether you're a mother, a friend, someone that works in a very corporate job, right? It's your ability to um through your own healing help other people heal. It's the wounded healer, right? So to have the quincunx with that in your moon, with that on your IC, that's very, very telling. Now there's a lot more here, right? Um, I think like a big challenge with that, with the Libra moon, is to be able to feel the pain and then speak emotionally in a way that might be very risky and feel very, very odd, especially with the South Node in Aquarius, North Node in Leo, right? Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah, I guess overall, what I mean by all of this, um, and by the way, I think this is my best reading of the day so far. I think so. I feel the most comfortable. It's 1:42. I haven't been staying up this late. Sorry to sidetrack, but I'm doing way better now. I feel like I should do another one after this. Probably, maybe I will. We'll see. Who cares? Okay. Anyways. Yeah, so that's huge. Now also there's some good energy, right? Well, before that, like I was talking about your sun opposite moon, right? Um, that's difficult, right? Because what can happen with sun opposite moon, right? Being born on the full moon, it it's common. Um, well, how am I gonna put this? How am I gonna say this? You know, it's definitely common for the full moon baby, the sun opposite moon, to take to let's say like just fully favor one of them, right? So just like put all energy into the Aries or all energy into Libra. And then what can happen? So it's really about bringing both together and being able to work with both and balance both, right? Like Libra, balance. Um, but what happens to a lot of people with this, I would say a lot, especially like, less conscious idiots. I'm joking. People, yeah, just people who, yeah, all over, right? Is that they project they only project one of those, and then they find partners that project the other, right? So it's like they're not doing the work. They're having someone else do that full work for them instead of finding it within themselves. So that is something I see a lot. Um, yeah, I think that I mean I've seen it so many times. It's crazy, like I see it in non usually people who aren't really into astrology, right? And I find it, yeah, just very interesting. Um, mm, let me think. Let's think here. Yeah. So yeah, really, really, really balancing those two out. Um, I'm trying to think of like how many people I've met who did not have divorced parents who have sun opposite moon. But then again, like I said, you have like such few difficult aspects with them, but then you have that Chiron there. So yeah, if there was a divorce, perhaps like, it could have, if that happened, right? It could have affected your self-esteem a lot. And it's this like lifelong journey to go deep within yourself and to figure out like, especially with your Mercury in Pisces, you may have had kind of like a very mm, I wouldn't guess this, but especially because your son's in the third in Placidus, right? So that's very good for intelligence. So yeah, I'm actually not going to say that. And you're Cap rising, so I'm not going to say that. What I was going to say is like, potential issues at school, but I don't think so. Your chart is too, yeah, I actually definitely, if that's the case, I'd be very surprised. Um, Creativity. So your Vesta's with your Venus, right? So it's in Taurus, it's in its dignity position. So you're someone who could be, extremely creative, extremely good at drawing, singing, whatever it is, painting, whatever, right? Taurus, love, it's also very, very sexual, very attractive. People with the Taurus Venus, when I say attractive, I speak in terms of energy, right? I don't speak in terms of modern day um, what's attractive. Um, Modern day times, right? Went to know a little bit. Second. Um, so yeah, definitely a nice aura. But yeah, a lot of people find Venus and Taurus people very attractive. It's in the fourth house. So yeah, you're someone who loves home life, who um, just I think with partnerships, you definitely want reliability is a huge thing for you. As a Libra moon, also, there's this feeling, this sense of like of what's the word in English? Like I know it in French, Romanian, or Spanish. Well, I do know it. I can't think of it. Um, I think what I would say though is that this flow where you just know the show, toe, 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 rope, rope, do, mo, mo, mo. Yeah, just like Venusian energy, right? In love, where there's that fairness. The Libra moon, like they need that, like I was saying earlier, that give and take, right? That peace, that quiet. A Libra moon, the need for the Libra moon, they need to be social, they need to have friends, they need to things need to be balanced, right? And they have a love for design, for things looking nice, things being nice, all that stuff, right? Uh, Libra moons, so many artists are Libra moons, right? So to have Libra moon and then Taurus Venus, that's Taurus Venus people in love. A lot of times they love touch. They love touch, they love kissing, they love snuggling, they they really enjoy all the sensory. They love sex, let's just be honest. Also very good, it's a very good thing for money too. You could be very good in real estate. Just throwing it out there. It's potential. Definitely see a lot of Libra moons be good in business too when they're not pushovers, when they just are, more in that diplomatic, high vibe Libra stuff. But yeah, to have Vesta in Taurus with Venus, I think is pretty cool. And who knows, maybe that could be like a career, it could be a career in something artistic, or it's yeah. I think Vesta is like a more fun Saturn. So yeah, I think just like beauty, pleasure, design, all these things are very important parts of your life. And um yeah, like and even like to your key relationships, you want to have those in your relationships too, right? So and like there's also this ability to track very positive relationships, but we'll get back to the square. And also some very sacred ones, right? Um so yeah. So yeah, I think it's very good for like long-term relationships and being willing to work on the relationships. But yeah, it's very much about reliability with Taurus Venus. They don't want to waste time, muck around. They want what's going to last. And they'll work with Vesta, they'll work, you'll work for your relationships if it's worth it to you, right? Um and even Ceres there, it's like, that's pretty close to your IC too. So that is interesting because that could speak to just like I guess on some level, even though Chiron's there, which would speak about pain in childhood, also some level of nurturance and groundedness, right? And Taurus ruling the fourth is quite beautiful, I think. So with Venus, it's the ruling planet of it in its house, I think is quite amazing. And one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, it's fifth house in whole sign, but still. Um, I mean that just speaks to the create like just the massive, amazing creative component, right? Which you see how it's kind of says the same things in two different ways. So yeah, I think that's someone who perhaps want whatever happened with their family, which I'm not saying was horrible. I'm very unsure. Um, it could have been like, what it could have been? It could have been like you love both parents, you have great relationships with both parents. Obviously, I talked about the Chiron moon, but still, but maybe they just had like a divorce, and maybe that caused pain, right? But maybe you love like it's like me, like I have divorced parents, I love both of them, but it sucks that they're not together. That'd be way better. So, yeah. If I just started crying right now for like the next like hour. No. Sorry, weird. Yeah, there's so much leadership all over your chart. I mean, Eris with the sun. Yeah, it's just like very volcanic. Maybe you're afraid of your own power. I've seen that with some people with charts like this sometimes, where it's like they're afraid of like their own power in some way. But having the cap rising, that's that consistency and that ability to just like not be over the top, like low vibe Aries, right? Just like overkill. Um, anyways, so yeah, with love, as we were saying, so you've got some interesting aspects of Venus, right? So it's in that T square and it's square the nodes, right? Yeah. So um Venus square the nodes is definitely interesting. Like I was saying before, it's like, lessons around self-love and in different past lives, not having receipt, it just brings up a lot of karmic relationships. And I would say that overall, yeah, it's really more about like Venus is about self-love. So it's about how you relate to yourself, and then that leads to how you relate to other people, right? Um, so I think that what can happen is there can be lots of transference, right? If one has different issues, unresolved issues, with how they love themselves, how they value themselves, they yeah push that on their partners. So um, I would say um, there's also a part of it where the person might need to learn to be they might need to learn to be alone in this lifetime, not the whole lifetime, but just really being able to accept yourself, um you know just you without anything else before really being able to meet that right person, right? um but you know, as a Libra or as a Libra moon, one thing I didn't mention is that that's a big potential for codependency, right? Libra moons can be obsessed with relationships and like not all the time. I'm not saying it's like that's how it is, but with that, but then there's a lot more to it too, right? So stay tuned for that. So then there's Venus square Mars. I think people with that sometimes they can just be impatient in love and you know they can kind of fight with their their partners, and be quite irritable, and yeah, it's just interesting, right? Because Venus is in Taurus, Mars is in Leo, right? So it's like um the Venus in Taurus is a beautiful place, and the Mars in Leo is a beautiful place, right? It's a retrograde Mars. I didn't even talk about that. Damn. Um, so from that perspective, you definitely you definitely hmm, it's like there's a part of you that really wants to just love and be super chill, super laid back. When there's in the Taurian Venusian way I just spoke about, but then there's another part of you, seventh house Mars, right? North Node in the seventh house. Like that is some like this is like the chart of someone who, um, you know, like your relationships, like you have nothing to worry about because they are gonna be so fucking faded, you know. Um, and overall, I would say that um, there's a great like a lot of times with this, there's like a lot of firepower towards getting that relationship, right? Towards like, finding a relationship. But I think that the tension can come if there's too much energy there, right? Because Venus and Taurus likes to just chill and let things come to them. They're so good at just like allowing, manifesting, allowing things to come to them. But Mars in Leo can just be like really, really go-getter. So in love, you could see how that could create attention where you have to learn to balance the two out, right? The fire of Mars and Leo with the laid back nature of Venus and Taurus. And psychologically, what I would, what that brings up for me, yeah, is that just like potential, yeah, fights, irritability, all that stuff with lovers, right? Um, but when it's brought together in a high way, it's someone who can be very laid back, and sensual and all the stuff I talked about. I'm not going to talk about it again with Taurus, and then also, be able to go get what they want to go get, right? Um, and but like not be like over the top of like I need a relationship. Oh, I just got out when I need it. I need one. I need one. I need one. I need one. Right? Because you also have Juno there, right? We'll get into that in a sec. But it is really, and also like Mars in the seventh house can bring lots of fights. It can bring fights and chippiness in relationships as well. um but really like it's through relationships that you're learning a lot about yourself in this lifetime. And it could be even be relationships with Jupiter there, where you meet partners who are your teachers, right? Who become your teachers in some type of way, or you teach them, or you learn, you gain a lot from them, right? So that's cool. Anyways, so yeah, even further with that, so Venus square Jupiter, right? Where's Jupiter? Jupiter's over there. Yeah. So Jupiter's by Mars, right? So that is someone who can be a little bit, the shadow is being a little bit, it's Venus and Jupiter, like even a square is not bad, right? Um, someone it just makes someone enjoy the fun side of life. I would just say like it can like the shadow is someone who like with any Jupiter square is just like a little bit self-centered, a little bit like extravagant, a little bit over the top, a little bit like taking too many risks. And I guess if you think about that in relation to love, grass is green on the other side. I'm not gonna say you have commitment issues, right? But that would just be a potential. But now that I say that, well, actually, before I say that, you have Venus trine Saturn. So that is like the best placement for um, being able to really, really be solid, and it's like the glue that sticks relationships together, right? Um, so that's really good. But then Venus is in that T square, right? It's opposite Uranus. So yeah, you can be very, very, very stable, dutiful partner. It's also very good for business partnerships. Really, really good for that too. Um, But then Venus in Taurus is opposite Uranus. So this is really, really interesting, right? Because Venus opposite Uranus, remember, both are square the nodes. Um, it makes one, it can, yeah, it's kind of grass is green on the other side, have energy. Now, the Saturn will help this, but it can make one kind of torn between the idea of like a committed, intimate relationship and then that desire like to be their own person. So like they can be like very into like the chase and the pink cloud period. The shadow is like just getting addicted to that, right? So yeah, that's kind of how it is. And yeah, just like it's known for commitment issues, right? And I think there's a lot in your chart that makes this a lot easier though, right? That kind of like dims this. If this was like on its own, like I like for not to talk about myself, but I have Venus in Aquarius and Mars in Aquarius, right? Which is kind of similar to this, different, but I don't have what you have. So I'm not like a cheater in any way, shape, or form, but I definitely have, commitment is really, really hard for me, the idea of it. But yeah, I think Saturn can help you with this. But yeah, it's just like you need a lot of stimulation relationships as well as that that very Venusian serenity and yeah. So then we bring Mars in the picture in the T square, right? T square is two planets opposing each other, right? 180 degrees. So Uranus, Venus, and then 90 degrees from both of them, forming, right, like a bow and arrow, is Mars. So, and the notes, right? So, this is very karmic. And so we talked about Venus and Mars already. Um, well, Mars is trying Neptune. That's cool. But yeah, so Mars square Uranus is very interesting. So Mars square Uranus people need to work out. I just say it very point blank. Um, hold on. Okay. So yeah, it just creates like an insane energy level, right? So it can make like there's this need to like kind of like develop self-restraint, especially as an Aries. Libra moon helps a lot with this because you're always thinking about like, okay, if I do this, do that, but it's great for, being any kind of leader, which I keep saying. It's great for courage, it creates daredevils. You know, it can make someone a little bit accident prone too, so you got to watch out for that, not taking too big of risks. Um, but yeah, I mean, Mars Uranus is kind of like a genius type energy, right? And what I would say about that is that you know, if it is shooting out, right? Mars in Leo shooting out in Aquarius, that is where the resolution point is, which is your south node. So, but if we think about, okay, south node, but what is high Aquarius energy, right? Because like if we put this all together in a sentence, it would be something like, okay, um, one part of me values myself and values relationships that are stable and that are, Taurian, Venusian, sensual. But then there's another part of me that, if things get too clingy, um, to use that word, whatever, right? Um, Too predictable, it drives me crazy. It makes me feel like I'm in a prison. And then with Mars, it would be like, and then with Venus and Mars, be like, and then fights can come up, and it can be a little bit contentious. And then Mars and Uranus, it would be, sometimes I lose, yeah, sometimes like I have the potential to kind of go off the rails. Yeah, I have a Libra moon that helps me kind of like balance myself out. But yeah. So I think that this is where what I'm getting at here. With relationships, it's just like basically just like it's tough, it can make that very tough. And then when you add the nodes, right? So the karmic aspect to it, that adds a whole new dimension where it's like, all right, well, this is also from past lives and very, very karmic, and this is something you've been dealing with in different lifetimes. Um, so um high energy Aquarius is about selflessness, and it's about in respect to this, it's about it's about finding that person who really, really, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but who really gets you and who is able to keep, maybe there's like a level of freedom, like maybe you're like me where you want to, probably not with your Venus and Taurus, but where you want to have your own bedroom, right? And you don't want to share, you don't want to sleep and share everything, like, with your partner. You want your own space, your own chill area, all that stuff, right? um so it could be that, but I think overall the idea is leaning into alternative ways of relationships if you run into that problem, and understanding that you shouldn't shame yourself, and even perhaps like the work you might do for the collective, right? That could really help out that energy. So yeah. Um Anyways, Mars retrograde I think is interesting. What I would say is that it pushes this Mars energy more inward. So the Leo Mars would usually be like very, very out there, but it's more, about reliving past experiences internally. Um, I talked about this last reading, I think, like, the retrogrades, how it can have people inflict, is that the right word? Yeah, I guess inflict past life roles on people in their present life. It's very interesting. Um, so yeah. Sometimes people with that, they can put too much priority up, around like spiritual desires as opposed to like the needs of the physical body. So yeah, because the energy is more inward. I'm not gonna say your sexual experiences are off, are bad, because you have Venus and Taurus, and yeah, but a lot of times with Mars retrograde, because the Mars is more inward, it's not um like this fucking crazy fire sex, but the sex is very deeply rooted in love, right? um so yeah, it's actually like not bad in that sense. Um, and um, hmm, yeah. So I always think that there is like either like an over or an under um usage of the Mars energy in past lives. Um, and um also sometimes people with that they can yeah, they can actually never mind, I got confused. So when we look at your nodal axis, it's very obvious that yeah, that you underacted, right? In this life, you're meant to act, right? To lean into that assertiveness function. So very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. All right. Um, so yeah, you have a really nice aspect between Mars conjunct Jupiter. Love that. Just because a very high energy level, very courageous. Um, it's a great aspect to have Jupiter and Mars together. It can create just yeah, very adventurous, very or you just say that. Yeah, just very advent no, I don't think I did. Very adventurous. Um, people who just approach life with that enthusiasm, and travel and philosophy, learning, all that stuff, right? Um, very good for sports too. Very good for sports and just even the physical body, one could say. Um, so yeah. And okay, what was I looking at? Yeah, Mars trine. Okay, so Mars trine Neptune is a great one. It's just when I see that, it's just amazing, but you might artistic talents, which I keep saying to you, but you might take it for like people with that sometimes take it for granted, I've noticed. Um, and yeah, you have no aspects of your sun besides the opposition with the moon. Interesting. And then with oh, I guess you do have one Mercury aspect, barely. It's Chiron, sextile Chiron. Like, come on. But that just makes you able to really put other people at ease with your way of communicating. Your Venus and Pisces, or your Mercury and Pisces, excuse me, it's like very smooth and you talk in a way that really comforts other people. So that's nice, very healing. Let's take a look. So yeah, more with the love stuff. You have your Juno, which is like your ideal partner with your part of fortune in Cancer. So I've never really thought about what those two together would be, but what I would say is that seventh house, Juno, okay, 1, 7, yeah, is definitely in Cancer. It definitely gives you the ability, you know, it yeah, I mean, like it's just really good for marriage and it's a great indication of someone who wants a very committed relationship and who get it. um, but of course, there's all that stuff I talked about that you have to figure out. But in Juno and Cancer, that's kind of like if Venus is like what you find attractive, Juno is the asteroid that I've always used since I was a very young little boy astrologer. Not a little boy, but yeah. Um, So yeah, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. All right. Okay. So yeah, so Juno in Cancer, that it's very it's sextiling your Venus. It's just like, yeah, you want someone who is in touch with their emotions and can go deep if you need to go deep, right? That's like, well, how else can I put that? And yeah, so that's nice. And maybe even someone who wants to start a family, maybe someone who feels like, oh, I like that, who feels like a metaphoric family, feels um like they feel like not family, like home to you, like them energetically, they feel like home to you. I love that. So yeah, all right, so yeah, so you have lots of esoteric talents. So with your Neptune trine nodes, you've brought in occult, esoteric, witchy talents in this lifetime. And then your Neptune is sitting, where is it? It's hiding from me. It's hiding, it's hiding, it's hiding, it's hiding, it's hiding. 11th house. Yeah. So you want to have like very, yeah. Oh, your Neptune's conjunct my moon, 1 degree away. But you want to have like, very, very like friends that you really, really vibe with on like a spiritual and philosophical level. Friends slash groups that you're a part of, causes, all that. Um, so yeah, like very humanitarian, spiritual friendships, right? And they can kind of give you this escape from reality, which is cool. So, okay. So if we look at your sun, well, actually, let's look at one other thing. Um, Yeah, so like when I talk about past life conditioning, right? You see how a lot of people in this lifetime, they need logic, logic, logic. They just like don't believe anything without like scientific proof. I believe a lot of that comes from past lives where, the belief in God used to be like so obvious. Just was the way it was, just was, right? But then the church started fucking everyone over and saying shit like, if you don't do this, pay these taxes, or whatever. I'm not, yeah, you're gonna go to hell, blah blah blah. And I believe that a lot of people have reincarnated and sort of lost faith in that, right? And then it's sad that it boils over to spirituality, but like it's just that it's created this attitude of you know, I need proof, right? That's just something I think, right? Um, so yeah, like there's like with the Uranus square, there's a big need to um, you know, get away from to liberate yourself from past life conditioning. Um, and I would say, just like, yeah, past lives where, you were pushed to believe something that wasn't really like the truth, right? Um, and I already kind of went into this, but it's also speaking, to this crisis of individuation that we spoke about earlier with the South Node, North Node stuff, right? Um, and just like really, really like getting away from like trying to like um work in someone else's eyes, because conditioning ultimately imprisons you, right? That's the end of the day what it does. It blocks one's true expression from when finding, and this is like such a big part of this reading, right? Um, so yeah, like I would say that's regression work can be massive for that, depth therapy, um, and you can really come into contact, with trauma, but also gifts, on the other side. And the Uranus opposition is that at 41 is of the utmost importance for people who have that. So um, let me just double check. I think it's at 41. Positive. Yeah. Yeah, 41, 40, 42. Yeah, 41. Um, so anyways, okay. So yeah, we understand the main points here. So let's just finish off, or let's just kind of go through what we haven't gone through. We got this. Um, yeah, very like open third eye that you're able to use to kind of like you know, get to where you want to get and see kind of the bigger picture. Um, you know, you're able to like have a very meditative mind and heal people through words and art. Um, and also I would imagine quite strategic with money, I would imagine. So then when we think about like, you know, sun in the third house and Placidus, like just the importance of being very open-minded. And with the moon in the ninth house, it's just like, yeah, the idea of you know, on one hand, being the data collector, the person that goes out in the world, finds the information. Like, you know, like if life is a study, the person that has a conversation that doesn't just like believe things without, you know, like without like really getting the proof for themselves, the researcher. And then the moon in the ninth house, I would say, is the person with Pluto there, right? So Pluto ninth house people sometimes they don't feel like they belong in the country they're born in. Um, and they, you know, they're very passionate when it comes to discovering the higher meanings of life, right? But they have to watch out for becoming dogmatic and understanding that you know, they had their personal philosophies and they can become very obsessed with those, with also with travel and you know, just learning in general, but understand that, you know, everyone comes to their own truth at their own time, right? um okay, moving forward, part of fortune and cancer in the seventh, it's just like, you know, you're at your best when you're in very fulfilling, um you know, emotionally fulfilling and grounding relationships that I think I said it really well, that feel like metaphoric home, right? um and hmm, so yeah, Jupiter in Virgo, Jupiter retrograde people are very two. The latest I stayed awake here. They're very internally philosophical, right? Very internally philosophical. And Jupiter in the eighth house is amazing for other people's money, whether it's marrying someone with money or inheritance. It's also a gift. The gates to the unknown and the esoteric are wide open for you. Um, so yeah, it's a great placement where it's like having a flashlight in the areas of life that are that, you know, whether it's death, understanding the nature of spirit, all that stuff. Like it just makes sense to you. Jupiter and Virgo, they're very good at being, you know, when it comes to being of service. But they can also be very perfectionist. And you don't have that, you know, there's not like you, I'm not saying like you have that many placements, like you don't have like Saturn doing anything bad in your chart. So I wouldn't really worry about this, to be honest. But that's just, I'll say it. I'll say it that, um, you know, that is one placement of perfectionism, but it could also be something that's needed in your chart because your only Earth is Venus, so that could be very good. And eighth house, yeah, I mean eighth house Jupiter is amazing. It's like the natural psychologist, the person who, um, yeah, like they tend they tend to get, yeah, a lot of help. Um, they attract, they get very lucky or fortunate when it comes to attracting external resources. But I think when it, like with all this stuff, it's like when you're headed, you know, in the right direction in life, in your north direction, um, you know, good things will happen in that sense. So yeah, um, they can also like, yeah, benefit through anything connected with death, metaphorically or literally, right? So yeah, usually it is a very wealthy spouse, as I said. Um, and yeah, super into the occult, psychic abilities, anything that's beneath the surface, right? And the thing I love about this placement in the 12th house, 8th and 12th house Jupiter is that there's psychic protection or yeah, psychic protection, right? Or protection from psychic attacks, right? And just like really like a high innate understanding of like the meaning of life and death and being able to see the big spiritual picture, right? And it's like the spiritual how can I say this? It's like the spiritual I just lost my train of thought. I just lost my train of thought. Um yeah, so it's like a spiritual type of growth that never stops, right? So it's like yeah, psychic protection and yeah, it's great. So also you know, when it comes to sex, it makes that a priority. Um, you know, it's very good in that sense. It can be very, very spiritual type of sex. Um, and yeah, it's just a great placement, I would say overall. Um, it just makes people, you know, very, very comfortable with everything related to the eighth house. So yeah. Um, so that's very, very nice. And you know, I would also say that I mean that is such a gift, right? To have that, right? To just naturally understand everything related to the occult, the esoteric, having that ability to zoom out and just be able to look at this thing and be like, all right, that's BS, you know, with respect to the occult, the esoteric, or anything, you know, that's deep like that, right? And yeah, it's just the built-in psychologist. And then having Saturn there is interesting as well, right? Because it is in Virgo, but it's in the eighth house. So I imagine that it was probably around your Saturn return that things really, really opened up for you with respect to your real deep spiritual dive, I would imagine, right? Um, Oftentimes that's the way it is. Uh, you know, eighth house Saturn can kind of you know it can definitely make one feel very overwhelmed by intimacy and I think having the Jupiter there definitely kind of like pushes that away or kind of like balances it out but you learn a lot by probing you know into the kind of mysteries of life and a lot of people with that I see a lot of astrologers with that a lot of people who are very very spiritual because they're able to have this very hardworking organized ability to like want to study the occult and want to study beneath the surface. Now, I know I said the thing about perfectionism. Well, guess what? Black Moon Lilith is in Virgo. So that is something that is important and that we have to talk about because that indicates that you sorry, I did that. My mom hates that I do that. That's as a kid. It's really gross and weird. It's not gross. Um, so yeah, what was I just saying? So yeah, that actually brings perfectionism. So just like being hard, like if you are being too hard on yourself, it's a you know it's something that I say in so many readings. Just have self compassion. You know, don't go too hard on yourself. Um, you know, your best is very very good, very very good, right? And you are the only person that can get in the way of that. Okay, so I usually don't really go in so much to retrograde planets. Not that they're not important, but you have like so many. So we talked about Mars. You have every one, every outer. Yeah, Jupiter, Saturn. Yeah. So um I would say, yeah, Jupiter, as I said, it pushes that expansive philosophical energy within. I don't think that's yes, it's not a bad thing at all. And with these outer planets, like they are in like 40% of the time, a lot of them are in retrograde. So it's not like a big deal like Mars, Venus, or Mercury. Um, so um I think with Saturn retrograde, that one's a little bit difficult. Sometimes some people say that that's like a redoing a lifetime. I don't know if I believe that, but I wouldn't be surprised on some level, right? Like maybe more related to like what Saturn is trying to teach us, which is self-discipline, anything around limitations. So yeah, just passing karmic tests. So perhaps yours was around closeness and intimacy, um, and you know, like maybe the esoteric and the occult, and maybe your past life conditioning kind of pushed you away from that. That's something I would see. Um, so a lot of people, write about how people with this feel like they have two incarnations at once that they're dealing with. They feel the burn of both at the same time. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Um, so I guess what I would say is yeah, Saturn's comfortable in retrograde position, right? Um, and you can really tap into your past life talents and wisdom through it. And yeah, it's the sign of someone who is yeah, on a spiritual path. But like I don't know, there's a lot of that stuff that like I can't obviously verify that. But yeah, I guess one thing I will say for sure is that they're they're definitely very serious about getting it right this time. Um, Uranus retrograde, I already kind of said, squares your nodes. So it's just like about you know, individuality, um, and leaning into that authenticity of yourself, right? Um, so yeah. Um, I think I've pretty much I guess I would say with that one, it is very much about like really dialing into the intuition, um, the intuitive body, right? And people with that, yeah, there is that difficulty with expressing their inner individuality. Um, and yeah, just personal growth and the importance of that, right? Um, and that being kind of held back in the past. So yeah. Mm-mm. So yeah, with Neptune, I would say that I would say, yeah, what am I saying? Neptune, yeah, Neptune, I think that there is this need to kind of like to feel that oneness, right? Um with all that is, like high spirituality, high compassion. And it's like an urge to view the material world in terms of like a more metaphysical, like in a more metaphysical way. And yeah, it offers a very, lots of advanced or I guess opportunities to acquire very advanced spiritual evolution. And it's like about, yeah, like living in the physical world, but also separate from it. Um, so make sure it's still on. Yeah, it's like really about living in a way where you're distinguishing between your dreams, your intuition and imagination, right? And yeah, the dreams that will, truly bring you fulfillment, and those that won't, right? The more like, yeah. So, yeah. So it's really about like really trusting your intuition. That's kind of like the do-over. Trusting your intuition, trusting God, trusting oneness. So Pluto, this is the only one I have. So I guess with that one, it's kind of like a karmic debt being owed in some way. Um, and it could be lots of different things. It could be like a do-over, um, you know, of some kind of like something that you didn't do correctly, like some like inner compulsion, something about power in past lives. And often you'll feel like the struggle that humanity is going through within yourself. And yeah. So I think like karmic debt is owed to humanity. Um, so mm, yeah. So and it's all through like the kind of the selfless service to humanity. And lots of, yeah, potential for spiritual growth. But there's so many different potentials here, right? Rising above karma, all that stuff, and kind of stepping off the wheel of rebirth. So yeah, it's kind of like the Neptune one where it's like, it's asking you to have one foot in the spiritual world, and one foot in the spiritual world, and one foot out of it. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so hmm, so like I would not be surprised if you had lots of different career changes. We're just about to be done soon here in a sec. Unconventional career, you want to really like, yeah, but really give back to society. That's the most important thing. Your metaphysical imprint is the most important thing. All right, let's take a look here. Let's pull it up the other way. All right, so yeah, okay. Just filling in the blanks here. How long have we gone? Just under 2 hours. Okay, it's fine. Cupido midheaven. Hmm. I feel like Cupid is like very, very flirtatious, very kind of sexy. But I don't know so much about Cupido to be honest. But to have on your midheaven perhaps would give that energy to you in that midheaven social media slash you know, career way. Who knows? I'm not. I probably should take that one. I haven't studied enough. Okay, very nice. Circe, which is like you can look it up. Search CIRCE astrology, or CIRCE space witch space astrology on Google, and you'll see an article about it. But it's with your Mercury, so that's like so many of my like very witchy clients have Circe. I've seen it's a big thing I've seen. Um, and you have Psyche right on your sun, so that's interesting. Um, but I want to like just collect everything in my head before I go in explaining. You have Algol with Venus, nice. That's super artistic, super artistic. Sirius, you have another, yeah, you have two wealth stars so far on angles, really good. Which what does that mean? That you'll be rich, perhaps. Yeah. I mean, you have Jupiter in the eighth house. Maybe you're rich. Who knows? Uh, Hydra with Mars, that is linked to astrology. So, and just like diving beneath the surface. And Urania is not even far from Jupiter. So yeah, astrology could be something that you benefit from deep from, like on a deep, deep level. So, yeah. Definitely like a truth seeker for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. Someone who, yeah, beneath the surface. Um, okay. So what's the distance? 30. Okay. Let's check this out over here. So yeah, Psyche with the sun. Um, it just creates like a great actor, actress, leader. It's very royal, charismatic, um, just great leadership, right? Like very someone who's able to like really teach themselves, very like really like very self-taught, um, and um, just like lots of insights into just human psychology and other people's minds, just in general. So yeah, interesting stuff. Um, what was the other one I was saying? Uh, Algol. Algol, algol. Yeah, Algol and Alphard. So yeah. It's just yeah, Hydra Alphard gives yeah, it's just very in Babylonian astrology, it is one of the three that's really linked to like truth seeking, esoteric, astrology, all that stuff. It's also, like yeah, wisdom, musical, artistic appreciation. Um, so yeah. Um, I would say um mm, yeah, good for leadership. I keep saying it. Um, but it can make someone very daring. So don't be overly daring. Um, so yeah. So then with Algol and Rookbot, and then we'll finish there. Very long reading, but I'm posting this one for sure because I felt so good. 2 hours is not too bad. Um, Yeah, Algol, it's like artists. Venus Algol is very nice. It gives like a very interesting type of well, actually, that's more like yeah. It says here it's imperative that natives with this conjunction marry a congenial, competitive male, or else domestic problems will surface eventually. They can gain high public preferment. Um, mm, so that's cool, but there's way more to it. It's very hard to find stuff on these. I might stop like really talking about. I mean, I don't know. I like to anyways. The ones that I know about, but there's just such little information. Like it's crazy. Yeah, it's linked to a lot of artist charts, and it's with your Venus, which is art. So I keep saying it. So finally, we'll end with Rookbot. It's another really good one for money. Let's see what it says. It talks about legacies, inheritance, and fame, but potentially for being unfortunate in love affairs or foolish. So you have to be really smart with your love affairs. Uh, these natives possess much and are very rich and have estates in various towns and cities, blah, 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 blah. Those, blah, 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 blah. These are all old definitions. Basically, it is a wealth star and it's really linked to inheritance and legacies. And I saw Jupiter in the eighth house, which is also linked to that. So who knows? But I've had readings in the past where I've said these types of things, and people are like, no. I'm like, you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. No, I'm joking. But okay. Also, ooh, very sexual energy. Very sexual energy. Um, Yeah. So, I mean, you can pretty much like it just all I have to say is Eros conjunct Venus in Taurus, right? Just passion, desire. It's a very intense energy, um, very romantic. I mean, it says it's like the name says it, it's very erotic. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's a great one to have those two together. Like very sensual type of intimacy that kind of transcends the physical. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, very meaningful, deep connections, very sexy, very sexual. So cool stuff. It was a pleasure. You must have good karma. You definitely do. Um, Not like showing off or anything. You caught me on a very, very good chipper mood. And I don't think I went too long. 2 hours is chill. I mean, I prefer to do 90 minutes, but whatevs. So yeah, I already told you a thing about the 260. I went over everything we possibly go over. This was very fun. And hold on. Cool. All right. Thank you. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.